Hi everybody. Let's take a few minutes to talk about our reverse outline and this idea of T in terms of helping us with our revisions. Now, reverse outlines are a fun little activity. It's a guided activity that's really going to help us break apart our essay and make sure that we have clear paragraphs, make sure that they all tie together to support our thesis, and really kind of tear that essay apart and look at it at the nitty-gritty. Alright, the first thing that we want to do is print out a copy of our draft. Now, if you don't have a printer or you don't want to murder all the trees, you don't have to print out a copy, but it's really more effective, in my experience, to be able to write on that paper. But you can definitely do a reverse outline by using the comment feature in your word processor, or using different colored fonts, anything to kind of help you keep track of your revisions. So I encourage you to print out a copy of your essay, but you can totally do this digitally as well. First thing that we're going to do with our reverse outline and T analysis here is write your thesis statement at the top of that page so you can refer back to it regularly. So you can just take your big old black Sharpie and write your thesis across the top of your printed out essay, or maybe use a nice big font like maybe the Futurama font and make it bright red and put your thesis at the top of your Word document. Now, before we really dive into the whole T analysis that we're doing here, let's focus on our thesis just a little bit. We spent a little bit of time formulating a thesis per MindEdge and SNHU's suggested formula. And again, you are not required to use that formula, but that is a great way to have a strong, supported thesis statement. Okay, we want to go from having a claim to a thesis. So let's take a look at our thesis and make sure that we are answering yes to these questions. Do you have a thesis statement? You guys do. So yay, that one's a yes. We do want to make sure that it does appear at the end of that introductory paragraph. So let's take a look at that paragraph and make sure that the thesis, in addition to where we wrote it at the top, does end as the very last sentence of our introductory paragraph. Does our thesis statement express a single central idea that correlates to our response for the article that we read? So essentially, is our thesis related to one of the articles that we're analyzing? Have you arrived to this thesis statement after careful and well thought out consideration? Have you effectively critically analyzed the essay, the article, in order to come to that thesis? So we can all say yes to that because that's what we've been doing for this entire term so far, but do double check and make sure that your thesis is reflecting clear analysis and thoughtful thinking about our article. Does your thesis statement express your opinion? Remember, we're making a claim in our thesis. We are stating our opinion. I think that this author was effective. But again, we don't want to use first person, so we're just going to say this author was effective because, or ineffective, or whatever your opinion is. And then we want to make sure that we include our evidence, and that's where we say this author was effective because key point 1, key point 2, key point 3. So as long as you're following that formula, you can say yes to all of this, and you'll have a nice, strong thesis statement. Based on your answers to the above questions, do make any necessary changes to really strengthen that thesis statement as well. We really want to have a good, strong thesis statement. If you have any questions at all about whether or not your thesis statement is strong, let's have an open conversation about it to make sure that you are hitting all the critical elements. And now what we want to do for the actual T analysis in the beginning of our revision process is read those paragraphs one at a time. Read them in a singular entity, and then write out the main idea of each paragraph in the margins of your paper. Remember that the main idea of the introductory paragraph is your thesis statement. So for your body paragraphs, make sure that you write the main ideas in the margin, or use your comment feature. And then we are going to analyze our own writing. So we want to take a look at the first part of our T, the topic sentences. We want to be able to say yes to the following questions. Do you have a topic sentence at the start of each paragraph? And does your topic sentence relate back to your statement? So we look at each individual paragraph, keep that main idea in mind, and see if we have a topic sentence that connects that main idea to our thesis. The E part in our little T mixture here is evidence. So after our topic sentence, do we have evidence to support that? We want to be able to say yes to the following questions. Do you have primary evidence? Do you have those direct quotations or that paraphrase content to support the claim that you're making with your topic sentence? Is that evidence relevant? Is the quote that you used actually appropriate for the claim that you're making? Do you have enough evidence to support your thesis? And do you have enough evidence to fulfill the requirements of the essay? And does each selected piece of evidence contribute to a different topic sentence? Essentially what we're looking for here is, are you using multiple pieces of evidence? We don't really want to have just one quotation that all of our key points tie to. We want to have an individual quotation or paraphrase content to a given keyword, or key point. So if we have 3 key points, we should have 3 different pieces of evidence, each one supporting a key point. So that's the E part of our T analysis, and the A part of our T analysis is analysis. In the final step, we want to engage in full analysis by examining how each piece of evidence in our essay supports our thesis statement. Okay, so we want to be able to answer yes to these questions. Do you have analysis for each primary piece of evidence? And does your analysis go beyond merely restating the obvious? And this is where we have our topic sentence, we have our piece of evidence, and then we talk a little bit about that evidence and we connect it to our overall point. Okay, and that's a very quick explanation of T. I know I went quickly, so if you have any questions at all, always feel free to connect with me, or you can post a question in the general discussion forum. So now we're going to use this analysis to generate a new updated draft. We are going to actually revise our draft now that we've analyzed it. And so what we're going to do is complete the above steps and kind of break apart the essay so that it's in 3 sections. We're going to have our introduction, we're going to have our body, and we're going to have our conclusion. And now we want to actually update those paragraphs and revise it based on our T analysis. So if we were able to, if there wasn't a clear connection, for example, between our evidence and our topic sentence, we want to actually go in and fix that. And then we're going to type or copy and paste, depending on how you're doing your reverse outline, the resulting paragraphs into these boxes. Alright, so we are going to put in our introduction and make sure that our thesis ends that paragraph. So we're going to type it right here and make sure that you do hit submit. And then we're going to have our body paragraphs here in the second box. Remember that you want to revise them, and each paragraph should begin with a topic sentence and should contain evidence and your analysis of that evidence and how it relates to your thesis. And make sure that you hit submit. And then we are going to paste our revised conclusion, which will include a couple insights about your claim that you established through the essay. And we want to hit submit. And now this is where it gets a little bit different from our other assignments. I want you to submit your paragraphs and download it into a Word document, but you do not submit it to me yet. We just want to submit it in MindEdge. Save it, and in the coming weeks we're going to transition this draft into our final draft. Okay, so do all of this revising, this T analysis, this tweaking of our paragraphs, and submit it in MindEdge, and then you're good to go. I know that this reverse outline is sort of a different perspective. I'm sorry, my dogs are barking at the door. Sort of a different way to approach revision. So it might be a little unusual, but I encourage you to follow the steps, do your best, and remember that evaluation and analysis can be challenging, but it is a good way to make sure that we are being effective in that final paper. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to connect with me, text, email, whatever works best for you. We can even talk on the phone and kind of walk through this if you would like. And you can also connect with the SNHU OWC. And remember, if you have a general question, go ahead and post it on that general discussion forum, because if you have a question, it's likely that one of us has the same question, and we can get a good, nice, supportive discussion and dialogue going on. Don't overthink this assignment. It's just a revision strategy. You're going to do great, and we are almost there. We're almost ready to submit that final critical analysis. You guys are doing great. Hang in there.